I'm Richie Suave Flores.
And I'm Corey Crenshaw.
And this is Sporty with Corey and Richie Suave.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
And is the motion man. Little flip to Fitzgerald. He scores! And the Cardinals win an amazing game.
Mikhail Bucker with a chance. He walks in. He scores! Mikhail Bucker for the second straight game is the hero.
Welcome back in Sporty Nation. It is episode 22. We are feeling 22, even though I am 23. But I am so excited because my number was always 22 for everything. So this should be our magical episode. Everything should go correctly. So let's hope and pray. I mean, I already have thrown things off a little bit with my purple hair.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah. So everyone's been telling me they haven't noticed it at all.
It looks good, though.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been definitely a change. Let's just say that. I don't know. You did the mohawk. And
yes.
Then, I got to do the purple hair. We got to get our little weird hair choices out of the way.
Exactly. I'm glad the mohawk is gone because it looked awful. So
I liked the mohawk.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But it's gone now. It's back to normal. So here we go. Irregardless, we have a packed show today. Very, very packed show. So what do we have on tap for the Sporty Nation today?
So we are going to be starting out with where the Coyotes are on possible relocation, as well as an expansion team in Seattle. And then we are going to be talking about the big trade that everyone knows about, Giancarlo Stanton. And then we will be talking about our top 3 favorite Christmas movies. And we seem to have a similar number 1.
Yes.
And it might be kind of arguable whether it's a Christmas movie or not, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it because it might be a surprise for some. But most of you smart people out there know what it is already. But let's get into the news of the week from the NHL, which is that the GM's meetings were held this week, or the Board of Governors met earlier this week in Florida, and there was a lot of things that came up out of this. The biggest of which was, of course, what's going to happen in Seattle as far as expansion, like you mentioned, Corey. But we want to begin locally with the Coyotes and something that Gary Bettman told reporters about the future of the team here in the Valley. So here's a quote from him. He said, quote, "They are still working on getting a building in Arizona, and so I don't view the Coyotes right now as a candidate for moving." He says, basically, I have infinite patience when it comes to them. They obviously do, because I will say this about the Coyotes moving. If Gary Bettman and the NHL wanted the Coyotes to leave the state already, they would have been gone, 8-9 years ago out of bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah. Bettman was the one who helped them stay here. So, I mean, he's always had faith in the team being here, and it's a great market. I mean, it's one of the top markets. We've got so many people here in the state. So I think that giving up on the team, I don't think is the correct direction. There could be a few things better that, PR-wise with Glendale, that can definitely help the team go in a better direction. I mean, it's also so far out there. I feel like people don't want to drive all the way out there. I think once they get relocated and everything is stable again, it'll really start helping the team. So I'm so glad that Bettman, for personal reasons as well, that Bettman is not wanting this team to leave. Actually, he said that he doesn't think of any team relocating.
Yeah.
He wants this one in Seattle to be for sure an expansion team because he wants there to be 32.
Yeah, and Carolina Hurricanes also have new ownership coming in. They were kind of one of those candidates that might be possible for relocation. Otto has been mentioned. Calgary, they've had a mess with their building there in Calgary as far as relocating. But what's funny about Gary Bettman is he's probably the most hated commissioner in all of sports. And I'd put him on top of, the worst commissioner in all of sports.
I was going to say, you don't...
Roger Goodell. Because Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the biggest league in the country. And he is hated by many, many, many fans.
Like everyone.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say you cannot say that.
So yes,
Goodell is.
I will change it to the worst. Gary Bettman is the worst commissioner in sports because there's already been 2 work stoppages during his 25-year tenure, and it's interesting about Gary Bettman because he basically more or less him and his top people, the NHL, saved the Coyotes here in Arizona basically, and so I would like to say this, and Coyotes fans, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the only city in the NHL where people will boo Wayne Gretzky and they will cheer Gary Bettman. Am I not too far off from that, or am I just crazy?
That's really funny because that was brought up to me the other day. I had mentioned about how like I am not a big Bettman fan, and I was told, well, he was the one who saved the Coyotes, and I get it. Like from a Coyote standpoint, I am so glad of everything that he has done for the Coyotes. But as a commissioner, it's rough. And it's so hard to separate, my love for what he's done for the Coyotes and how because he's commissioner of the entire league, not just a single team. Like he's done something good for a team, but it doesn't negate all of the bad things he's done for the league as a whole. And I mean, it's one of the major 4s in this country, but I mean, it's still not as high up there as I would like it to be. I feel like no one really appreciates hockey the way they should in this country.
I agree. I think we all agree.
And I feel like Bettman kind of has a part in that because he keeps on kind of screwing things up. I mean, this year with the expansion team of Vegas, I think that couldn't have gone over any better than it did. I applaud them 150% on everything that they did because not only was it done well, I wasn't very impressed by the NHL awards and how they did the expansion draft.
Yeah.
That was kind of rough to me. I thought they kind of quickly sped through it and tried to shove stuff in there that shouldn't have been shoved in. It was kind of a mess. And I mean, the lottery drafts in general have been really rough the past couple of years, but the actual process of getting that team in, getting fans excited, and then they got lucky because the team has been so good and it's been one of the best, or it has been the best expansion team that has come out. So I think they got a little bit lucky, but I am so impressed by how much hockey is growing through the Knights.
That is awesome. I think that's another reason why the NHL wants to expand, not only to make both conferences equal and get to 32 teams, but because they've already seen that it can succeed if it's done right, and the Golden Knights are the perfect blueprint for a Seattle or a Quebec City or an Oklahoma City or a Houston, wherever it may be. But another reason why they want expansion over relocation is because of the money involved. So how much money is the NHL going to make from a Seattle expansion team in terms of an expansion fee?
So in an expansion fee for the Vegas Golden Knights, it was $500 million. Right. So they just got that $500 million. They bumped it up, and they said it was that it reflects the value of the team in a specific market and allows for inflation. It's an extra $150 million for this team's expansion fee. I think completely, Seattle's been trying to take the Coyotes for years. It's been a whole thing that everyone's like, oh, the Coyotes are growing up to Seattle forever. And so I think it's one of those things where when you want something really badly, you're willing to pay more money for it. I don't think it has to do with inflation. Like, I understand it's a more expensive town, Seattle is, but I don't think the inflation and all of the other crap in the, specific market, I think it's honestly the fact that since they wanted this team so badly, here, we're going to charge you more money for it.
Yeah, exactly. So Winnipeg, when they relocated from Atlanta to Winnipeg several years ago, their relocation fee was $60 million. So let's kind of bring that into 2017 numbers. You're probably talking about 3 times that, maybe 4 times. I'll just say $150 million for a relocation fee. Which would the NHL want more? $600 million expansion fee or $120 million relocation fee? They much would rather have an expansion team rather than a team move. And
they'd much rather make it equal as well. So it kind of helps all around. I do think one of the things I wanted to point out about this is they told the ownership team that they can file for an application. So they haven't, for the 2021 season, they haven't said that it's official yet, but they can apply for one. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that in the ownership group is Jerry Bruckheimer. And if you've ever heard of him, he was the producer of Top Gun, Pirates of the Caribbean, Armageddon, Beverly Hills Cop, Black Hawk Down, Flashdance. Like, this guy has been involved in everything when it comes to pop culture.
Most of what he touches in terms of films turn to gold. So hopefully he would be able to do that for an NHL team there too.
That's what I'm hoping. But I mean, on the other side, there's also David Bonnerman, who was on the board for Uber, who just had to resign because he had said a sexist comment. So hopefully Bruckheimer's goldenness will overshine his issues.
Yeah, so before we move on to Giancarlo Stanton and we get into Corey's Corner, what do you think Seattle can succeed? What are your expectations as far as the NHL there?
I think they can succeed because they've been wanting it for so long. The hype is there. And that's the same thing with Vegas. Everyone kind of had hype over teams going to Vegas. So I think if you have enough hype, people will eventually buy into that hype.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll start seeing when they're trying to sell out these season tickets, is that if the hype is there, people will buy into the hype. And so I think they will do well simply for that.
I hope so. They're renovating Key Arena there. They just got approved for a $600 million renovation to Key Arena. So they're hoping to not only get the NHL team, but the NBA as well. And I think it's going to succeed wonderfully. I hope the NBA goes back there as well and they bring back the Supersonics. Seattle, they have the Seattle Thunderbirds, WHL team. So I think it's going to succeed. I think they're hockey crazy up there. They want more sports up there. They love their Mariners already. So I hope it succeeds quite well up in Seattle. We'll see how that progresses over the coming months. Hopefully we'll probably learn more over the offseason. And I'm glad that Gary Bettman wants the Coyotes to stay. But before we move on to Giancarlo Stanton, let's take a jaunt into Corey's Corner.
Hello, and welcome into my corner for the week. So I just kind of wanted to go off of our last segment and give a nice applaud to Bettman for what he said about the Coyotes. I know it probably wasn't the fact that he really has immense amount of faith in the Coyotes, but I do like the fact that he is making it known that the Coyotes are staying here, and so we can stop hearing all these rumors about the Coyotes leaving and Glendale being the death of the Coyotes and all this stuff, because at this point, the team needs to stop worrying about where obviously they need to worry about where they're going to be for an arena, but I mean, they need to stop worrying whether they're going to be in the state or not, and they need to start focusing on playing the game and let that be their main focus. They're never going to get better unless it has a solid fan base and also there is a stability for the players. So I am so glad that Bettman came out with this and said that the players have stability, they will be staying in the state, and that an arena will be found. So I applaud you, Bettman. It is one thing that you've done right, and please continue on your trend of doing things correctly, because I would really like to see you turn things around. Thank you so much for joining into my corner, and now we'll be talking about Giancarlo Stanton.
So we just had some breaking news fall right into our laps as we were taping on a Saturday afternoon. It was announced that National League MVP Giancarlo Stanton is going to be on the move, and he is headed north from Florida to the Bronx, and he is going to be playing, and just imagine this for a moment. Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge are going to be on the same freaking baseball team, as Giancarlo Stanton was traded indeed to the New York Yankees on Saturday. Here are the details. So the NL MVP and $35 million are going to New York in exchange for second baseman Starlin Castro and prospects Jorge Guzman and Jose Devers. And then New York will pick up the remaining $260 million or so due to Stanton. Of course, as we speak on this Saturday, pending a physical, which he should pass. So now it's going to be Stanton, Judge, and Gary Sanchez 2 of which hit over 50 jacks. 1 and Gary Sanchez hit 33. This is legit going to be the 2017 version of the Bronx Bombers. This is ridiculous.
Aaron Judge has already said that he is willing to make Stanton his new best friend.
I wonder why.
Literally just came out, like right before we were doing this, came right across my phone, and I'm not even kidding you. The MLB article, word for word, Aaron Judge is ready to call Giancarlo Stanton his best friend.
This is really amazing. This is the first time that the Yankees are going to have 2 players with 50-plus home runs since Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle back in 1962 when they were chasing, of course, 60 homers at the time. It's like, I can't believe it. It's ridiculous that the Yankees are allowed to do this again and go and spend this much money to try and win themselves a World Series. They're having a new manager this year, Aaron Boone. That is going to be that's going to be a team that's going to be fun to watch as hell because they're just going to be slugging dongs. It's going to be they're going to hit like 250 dongs this year, the New York Yankees.
Well, that's what, even in this article, I'm not even kidding you, this entire article is about how many home runs they've been hitting. So it points out that it goes, after the Yankees reportedly agreed to acquire Giancarlo Stanton from the Marlins on Saturday, the 52 homer hitting AL MVP runner-up knew the best way to welcome his new 59 homer hitting NL MVP teammates. With a stepbrothers quote, "It's especially fitting as baseball's 2 large adult sons really will be like homer bashing brothers next year." And then he sent him a gif in Step Brothers when they say, "Did we just become best friends?" And then they started talking about the home run derby and how much fun the home run derby was. And if that's how much fun that was, imagine this next season, except for pitchers. Pitchers are going to hate it. Well, how about everyone else? Like, what about everyone that's not a Yankees fan? You're going to hate this.
Yes.
So not just pitchers, every other team and every other fan of every other team is going to hate this. It does seem like every single year they seem to magically come up with all this money to just get these players that you would not expect to be put into one place, but they somehow magically are able to put it together every year. And it's always one of those situations, too, where for some reason that player is always like, because he had 4 teams that he was willing to go to.
Yeah.
And, of course, one of them always ends up being the Yankees. It has some type of pull that I really do not understand. But one of the things that I also found was really interesting was that this is only the 3rd time a reigning MVP has been traded. Do you know who the other 2 are?
I know one of them, and that was Alex Rodriguez when he got traded from the Rangers to the Yankees after he won his MVP in Texas. So,
yes, he was the 2nd. And number 1, the reason why most people probably wouldn't
Shoeless
remember
Joe Jackson. No?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, this one was back from 1914.
Ooh.
So the first was Eddie Collins, whose contract was sold from the Philadelphia Athletics to the Chicago White Sox for $50,000 in 1914. And then, of course, Giancarlo Stanton is number 3. So they are in a very small, exclusive group. And these happen to involve 2 people now that have to do with the Yankees. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah. So the crazy thing about this is the Yankees reportedly are trying to get under, I believe it's $190 million, because that is the threshold for paying more in terms of the luxury tax. And they don't. Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap; they have a luxury tax. So if you go over a certain amount, they take money from you and they spread it out to the rest of the 29 teams. And so apparently, somehow, some way, they're still going to try and get underneath that luxury tax with Giancarlo Stanton in the lineup, which is going to be ridiculous. And imagine this: once Aaron Judge's contract is up, he's probably going to be a $30 million player too. Imagine having both guys be getting paid $30+ million. It's going to be ridiculous. But there is a local angle to this, which is now that Stanton is gone, and he was at one point maybe looking to go to the Giants or the Cardinals before, Stan kind of basically didn't agree to the trade to either team. The outfielders market has now opened up now that we know where Stanton is going, meaning that now teams are going to be calling JD Martinez, his agent, Scott Boras, and it should be shortly, as the winter meetings are now upon us, we're going to be figuring out where JD is going to wind up now.
Yeah, that is going to be a struggle and both heartbreaking, because I am very, very worried that he's not going to go to a place that I want him to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of it has been said that most likely he will go to an AL team because he's best made as a designated hitter. But I am still concerned that people like the Dodgers are going to want him, and that scares the living daylights out of me because that's the last thing I want. That's the last thing anyone wants, really. So I initially thought where he was going to go was the Yankees. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And now that this has happened, it's completely through loop in all of it because it's really opened the field. But it's also who has the money for him. Yeah. And that's going to be the biggest part is he's asking for a lot of money. His agent is asking for a lot of money. And people are questioning whether he is worth it because of the fact that they see him more in a designated hitter position.
Yeah. So if you ask me, I think there's going to be three teams, as far as I'm concerned, that are going to be on this. And it's always the same three teams, so you're not going to be shocked by this. But Boston Red Sox, an American League team like you just mentioned, LA Dodgers, who are in on Ohtani, who the big Japanese pitching / hitting sensation.
Which is a National League team, but you saw how well he did with the D-backs, so I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, and then the San Francisco Giants, who are, of course, in on Stanton. And if you're in on Stanton, why aren't you going to be in on JD Martinez?
Exactly.
So those are the three teams I think have to be the front runners at this point. The Angels are out. Maybe the Angels would have been interested in him to put him alongside Justin Upton and Albert Pujols and Mike Trout in that lineup. But again, the Angels were the ones who ended up getting Ohtani from Japan. That's going to be an interesting addition to that lineup. If he's where he's going to fit in there, and if he's actually going to just do what he says he wants to do, which is both pitch and hit in the lineup on a consistent basis. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know where it's going to be interesting to see where the Diamondbacks line up on this because they haven't done much this offseason. They've made two small moves so far, which is, and this was just announced on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Iannetta, who had some pretty big hits for the Diamondbacks this past season, is going to go back to Colorado, where he played for a while. And then the Diamondbacks also made a small trade for the Tampa Bay Rays former closer and Brad Boxberger. He put up 40 saves 2 seasons ago with the Rays. This season, solid season, and it's kind of a small sample size, only pitched in about 30 games, but did have a 3.3 ERA. So he could be an option for the Diamondbacks as far as the closing position goes. So because they haven't done much, it's one of those things where they're just kind of waiting on JD to really make their big moves and figure out where they're going to be in their salary and what kind of moves need to be made, right?
Which, really quickly, before we have to move on to our next segment, I really wanted to ask you, where do you think he's going to go?
JD Martinez?
Yes.
I think he's going to be a Boston Red Sox next season.
That was my thought as well.
Unfortunately.
That was actually where I was thinking he was going to go to. So I just wanted to see if we were on the same page with that. And I guess especially because of that Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees move, the Red Sox almost always have a counter move to the New York Yankees, and adding JD to that lineup would be the perfect option for them. It is the rivalry thing to do.
Absolutely. But now let's get into Christmas season, Corey. Let's rank our 3 favorite Christmas movies.
All right, Richie, enough about the Yankees and on to the important stuff. Christmas and Christmas movies.
Yes.
This is the most important time of the year.
Absolutely. I should have worn my Christmas colors. Oh, well.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my hair is very colorful and holiday-ish. I originally thought we were going to be talk about Russia being banned from the Olympics. So I wore my Olympics jacket.
Ah, yes.
We changed that over the new information we gotten on Giancarlo, but I'm still Team USA.
I like it. Very nice.
But so I didn't wear any of my holiday stuff either.
That's okay. We are still in the holiday spirit. So we're going to make this a quick segment, but because we really want to get to number one. Each of us, top 3 favorite Christmas movies of all time. Number 3.
So I had, this changed a little bit from when I talked to you earlier today. Because I had one brought to my attention and then it popped up in my dentist's office today and I was watching it. It made me so happy. So it got moved to number 2. So my number 2 and number 3 will both take number 3, which would be A Day Without Christmas and Frosty the Snowman.
That's 2. You can't pick 2.
I'm bummed. I bumped something up to number 2, so those 2 got bumped down.
Oh, so it's a tie.
So it's a tie.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, because one of them got brought to my attention, and then when I saw it in my dentist's office today, it made me really happy.
Day Without Christmas is the one with Heat Miser and Snow Miser.
Yes.
I'm Mr. Heat Miser.
Yes.
That one, yeah. I like that. That's a solid choice.
That is the whole reason, is the misers.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned Frosty the Snowman as your tie, because my number 3 has to deal with Frosty the Snowman, because Frosty Returns is 50 times better than the original Frosty the Snowman. You can come at me on Twitter at rflores91, get angry all you want. I, myself, and my 2 sisters love Frosty Returns over Frosty the Snowman. 10 out of 10.
I can't. No. Mine's the initial Frosty. Come on.
You don't like John Goodman? John Goodman played Frosty in Frosty Returns.
I like Frosty the Snowman as the initial Frosty the Snowman, who, with the magician, with his little bunny, and them taking the train together and all. It's cute.
So cute.
And like him like going through traffic and all that stuff. It's cute. I like that one.
Okay.
But my number 2 would be Elf.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. That was one that got brought to my attention earlier today.
People love that movie.
And then it was in my dentist's office today and I was sitting there watching it and I was like, oh, I love this movie.
I am one of like 5 people on the planet that has never watched the entire movie.
I love that movie.
I love Will Ferrell, don't get me wrong, but Elf was never my thing.
He was going to go find his dad.
Oh, how cute. I'm like Mr. Angry today, aren't I?
You're just killing every
Giancarlo
Christmas
Stanton
dream.
goes to the Yankees and I get pissed off.
Every Christmas dream you're killing. The poor guy was going to find his dad. Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad. It's cute. Okay, fine. Funny and cute apparently does not appeal to Richie.
No.
So apparently he hates everything funny and cute, which includes dogs. He's a cat person. I like to point that out. That actually probably answers every problem I have right now. So continue. Thank
you. My number 2 is Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Which one's that one?
Oh man, who am I dealing with today? Haven't seen Frosty Returns. Santa Claus is Coming to Town is the movie in which Santa Claus it's basically the story of how Santa became Santa.
Oh, and that's when he's like, and there's a guy that's like the evil dictator, and he's dictating everything, and he goes through all these towns and is meeting all these people that are in the dictator.
Meisterburger.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking about that one today, but I couldn't remember what the name of it was.
Yes, that's also one of my favorites. I was thinking about putting Rudolph in there, decided not to. Went with Santa Claus is Coming to Town ahead of it.
Yeah, I liked that one. I liked that one a lot.
Very good.
We happen to have the same number 1, so do you want to say it together?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Die Hard.
Yep. Well, this is the one thing we can agree on. And I had an argument with somebody who happens to be holding a camera over there, who had just watched all the Die Hards for the first time. And he wanted to argue with me about the fact that since all of them aren't around Christmas, that it's not a Christmas movie. The series isn't a Christmas series. It's just the first two that are Christmas movies.
Right.
And especially the first one, because he is at a Christmas party of his wife's Christmas work, like his wife's Christmas work party. Ugh, that was a lot to say. No. But as I'm getting stared at by
he literally returned to LA for Christmas to see his wife and his kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is
with a gigantic teddy bear.
And he was, stuck in the building at Nagatomi Plaza, and he was having to save not only the whole room of people, but also he had to save Christmas. And then you had, the fact there's the police officer who is eating the typical Twinkies, and he stuck his neck out for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it's a story of people working together, and it's really great because in the in the second one, the wife finally gets to tase that reporter that goes to his house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, everything is all in the spirit of Christmas, although I've never known anyone giving someone for Christmas a giant teddy bear. He brings that giant teddy bear for her and leaves it in the car with the guy who's driving the limo. Argyle, there you go. I was gonna say it's clothing. I remembered it was like a form of pattern of clothing, but that's always how I remember his name.
I've never understood people who don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There's a lot of people out there that don't think it's Christmas, but if it takes place on Christmas, and the only reason the movie takes place is because he's going back to see his family on Christmas, that is a Christmas movie.
And after everything that I've said, of all of the people that he meets along the way, that's what Christmas movies are. It's like meeting a bunch of people along the way, the guy in the limo, the cop, and all these people that are helping him. That is the point of a Christmas movie, is a Christmas spirit and coming together and having everyone work together for the better good.
I agree.
So I don't understand why it's not a Christmas movie.
Suck it, Sporty Nation members.
Oh my gosh, we both got angry at the same time. If it's not a Christmas movie, then come at me with that one, because I will come at you all day long. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, everybody, it's now time to wrap up the show, as we always do here on Sporty with Corey and Richie Suave, with my dick of the week. And this week, I'd want to take a moment to give a PSA to the Sporty Nation. As most companies have their holiday parties around this time of year, we had our party at iHeartMedia this week. It was quite a bit of fun. I just want to let you guys know that don't drink too much at your holiday party. For the love of goodness, have some self-respect. Have a couple of beers, enjoy yourself, mingle, have some fun, but don't drink too much and make an idiot of yourself at said holiday party. Not cool, friends. Not cool at all. So enjoy, not destroy. That's your Richie Suave PSA of the week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Sporty with Corey and Richie Suave. We'll talk to you again next week, episode 23. Until then, good night and good sports, everybody.